you have video, tons and tons and tons of video.
Or a cable network.
Yep. So what advertising, creative, and inventory are you serving? What are the assets? Is there a corollary between the fact that you have such video inventory that you're delivering video advertising, or what are you seeing as far as what moves your advertiser clients?
I mean, what we're really focused on is connecting marketers to the weather, right? So what we're seeing is we've got to reestablish that connection between a marketer and what the weather means to their business. And I think it was Travelers Insurance last quarter, and what their CEO basically said was 22 times the impact of the weather on their earnings for the quarter, right? So where I'm most focused right now is what marketers know that the weather powers their business, and how do we draw a correlation between sales and the weather, right? So home improvement, insurance, car tires, travel, airlines, right? And so that's all really clear. And the other path that we're following on this is things that people don't know about the Weather Channel, because you might buy ads from them, is that we own 2 professional services companies. One's called Weather Services Interactive. We just bought a company out of Madison called Weather Central. And what they basically do is they take the data and they build forecasts off that data. And they sell that data either to airlines, to currency traders.
Revenue forecasts, not weather.
Well, weather forecasts. So
Okay.
if you're basically Goldman Sachs and you want to take a position on what's happened with the weather and what it's done to crops, you want very good data when you're going to basically take positions with, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars, right? So what I've been doing is following, like, who are the companies that we have a relationship with on professional services, because somebody's declared that weather data is very important to them, and what's the marketing department doing about that, right? So when we think of marketers, like, our best marketing partners should be those that really care about the weather and what it does to their business. And if the business side of the house knows that, why isn't the marketing department engaged with that? So when we think of advertisers, to answer your question, it's the Home Depots of the world, where they're basically saying, we know that the weather drives traffic in our store. Like, those are very important customers to us. And then there are lots of marketers that basically want, reach and scale and a good cost per thousand around their advertising. Right. So
the reason I had asked the question is because I want to go back to sort of the recent partnership and implementation of Google Stack and sort of enabling programmatic buying. And I guess what I wanted to really dig into was, in your opinion, given that you guys are investing so heavily there, is ease of buying and ease of buying highly data-driven advertising key to sort of the tipping point? Is that how you get? I mean, do you have to, as a publisher, do you have to enable that in order to actually start to see it on the demand side?
Yeah, I mean, so having spent so much time on the buy side and now being on the sell side of it, it's a little bit, like the search marketplace, where we want to create a lot of scarcity against our inventory. So, Sean's here, and he basically works on the direct side of things. That's a channel that's putting demand against our inventory. What the technology is now enabling us to do, and upgrading to the latest iteration of what Google has, is that it puts more demand against the inventory. So an ad network can put demand against an inventory. A marketer that wants to have a private marketplace and access to our inventory, another demand channel. We just actually did something with CBS and around NCAA football, where they're actually selling our mobile inventory as part of their package with the SEC. Right, so that's just more essentially demand against the inventory. So Google Stack aside, it's really a question of software, and how do we better leverage software when you can create a lot of demand and scarcity against your inventory to decide, who the best customer is. Sometimes, and usually, the direct sales team for us has first look and first call at that inventory, but then there's a waterfall, and within that waterfall, we're using right now, Google Stack on ad delivery is one software component. We use another piece of software called YieldX, which basically the yield management team that reports into me is looking at all the different demand sources, and we're deciding who's going to get that inventory.
And you've sort of bundled, you've aggregated display, video inventory. Is your TV inventory part of that?
No, it's not on the DFP side.
And how long do you think until we're there?
I think that's Google's ambition, is to basically have all inventory kind of run across software, but they recently shut down their Google TV initiative. And so I think it's probably a ways away until we can basically optimize across all 4 screens. We have an initiative in place right now where we'll have a universal profile across tablet, mobile, and PC, right? So, cookie aside, if somebody's engaging with our content, we can actually provide a more seamless experience across three of the 4 screens, and we're doing that on our own.
So, given that you've got a pretty robust multi-screen portfolio, we're talking about the GRP proposition and buying audience.
Right.
So, buying aside, let's talk about delivering and targeting.
Yep.
Do you see that where the maturation of online video is as far as the ability for programmatic buying, the demand side of the demand side platforms enablement? Is television going to get there, or is the way we buy targeted television always going to be a separate sort of parallel path?
Yeah, I mean, it's really a matter of the technology basically connecting those different screens, right? And so the interesting thing about the Weather Channel is when Tracy talks about addressable, we would just call it local, right? So for us, being able to basically deliver a message locally, whether that be to an individual, a household, a zip plus 4, is just a kind of a version of what's local. So you're just getting more hyper local as you go down. For us, we've been local at scale for a very long time. In fact, the history of the Weather Channel is local on the 8s, right? And so what allowed us to become the cable network that we are today was nobody wanted a national forecast. They wanted their local forecast. They wanted the forecast in Winnetka, where I live, or out by O'Hare. And so we've always been local, right? And that's really what's made the cable network what it is. It's what made it important to consumers, and that's what has allowed us to be local and important on every screen. So in a way, our brand has connected us in a very hyper-local way. Maybe we can't deliver, nobody really can deliver on a seamless ad integration across those 4 screens, but it hasn't slowed down our business, right? I mean, we can have Sean and the team put together a very integrated 4-screen opportunity where the technology is linking 3 of the screens. Cable is doing its thing, but the brand, and I think for the marketer, how the brand lives across those 4 screens is ultimately what's important. So if we can do an integration around severe weather, and when you look at what just happened with the recent hurricane with Isaac, like brands wanted an integrated answer across severe weather on all 4 of our screens.
Right.
Right. So we just put that together for them.
So we talk about leveraging the immense amount of data that the Weather Channel has and tying it to sort of, creating relevance through business, right, businesses, right? DIY, airlines, insurance, et cetera. So how far are we, and are you guys going to be really forging the path in actually looking at campaign and assessing campaign performance on ROI metrics of business KPIs instead of media KPIs? Like, is that...
Great question. We didn't, yes. I mean, so what we've been doing, and since David Kenny's come on as CEO, like, he's basically said we need to be strong at the core. The core for us is weather. The core for us is weather data. And so if you look at what's happened in the last 6 months, 2 acquisitions have basically made us stronger. So the first one was Weather Underground, another consumer site. Weather Underground crowdsources weather. Actually, my weather station showed up yesterday. I'm very excited. So, and over the weekend, my daughter and I are going to put my weather station up in the backyard, and you can basically, zoom in and get the weather from my house, right? And so there's thousands of people out there that have actually put weather stations in their backyard, and that weather's being crowdsourced. And if you go to Weather Underground, that's a pretty precise forecast that you're going to get. And so for us, that's just another dimension on data. We bought another company that I mentioned earlier called Weather Central, and they care about wind speed, right? So if you go to them and you basically say wind speed, they know about wind speed around mountains. They know about hail. They can forecast hail damage, and you basically would say, well, who cares about hail damage, right? If you're an insurance company, you care about hail damage, right? You want people to put the car in the garage or get it underneath the bridge when the hail comes, because if they don't, you're going to be writing a lot of checks, right, to basically take care of that damage. And so to answer your question around this, the trick is lots of data and appending marketer data to that weather data so that they can draw the correlations on sales, right? So the value comes from the joining of the data. And we have, fortunately, because of this professional services groups, lots of engineers, lots of people that are really good at crunching data. And what they've been focused on is selling the data. Their new mandate, at least working with ad sales in my team, is how do we join marketer data and weather data to sales? And when you go and talk to the president of consumer insurance, and you basically say, do these things, and it will drive better business results, the CMO is like, wow, weather seems really important all of a sudden, right? Because any marketing department is driving the business at the end of the day, and we're just connecting those dots.
Well, but that's the marketing challenge. The CMO's biggest challenge is to convey to the C-suite the actual value created through marketing investments, right? So if you can connect those dots,
and that's exactly, that's exactly what we're doing. So I don't think we can do that, to be honest, for every market or every category. It might not make the most sense. But do I think that we're a platform for insurance? Yeah, absolutely. Do I think we're a platform for travel? Absolutely. Home improvement? Absolutely. And so I think that we can be a very successful business if we know what categories actually should be better connected to the weather and power it.